And if somebody does make time for you in that capacity, like that is an incredible leader who has freedom to be able to give you that time.
Yeah.
And so if they have that, then obviously they're doing something right. And I want to figure out what it is so that I can replicate it.
I'm so glad that you tuned in today. If you haven't checked out the She Leads website, be sure to visit that in our show notes. That's going to tell you more of the She Leads story, as well as give you an opportunity to buy some She Leads merch and support the show. I appreciate you tuning in. I also really, again, thank and welcome your comments. Today, I have one from Chelsea regarding our new Ways for Women to Lead episode with Sonia. Chelsea says, I loved the part where you are so passionate about telling women to stand their ground, ask for what they want, and discuss pay because it's always negotiable. I love this fiery passion. Well, thank you, Chelsea, for your comment and your constant support. And I do hope that other women are being encouraged and empowered. And I'm just so grateful that I have this space to welcome in so many strong women sharing their stories of real impact in the world today. And that continues with our conversation with Tinja Anderson, a financial planner we talked to in our last episode. Why don't you briefly introduce yourself again, and then tell me, what content are you consuming right now? What are you a fan of?
Love it. So yes, my name is Tinja Anderson. I'm a financial planner. I'm a certified exit planning advisor. So I work with businesses to essentially make sure that they have protection at like all of the crucial stages of their business, so protecting their financial strategies, their team, their business, and their family, and growing their wealth outside of the business as well.
Awesome.
So what content am I consuming? Yes, lots of content. I'm actually very diverse in what I like to absorb. So Dr. Jordan Peterson's really interesting. I love a good Joe Rogan podcast. Okay. There is a gentleman who runs a podcast called The Diary of the CEO. Stephen, what is his last name? Bartlett. Stephen Bartlett. There's several different aspects too that I absorb. So obviously with my coach, I have two different mentors that I really like to go to school on. So one, her name is Julia West, Dr. Julia West. She's a coach with Limitless Minds. So really just absorbing that level of personal content and action-oriented stuff. And then just internally, obviously, honing my craft for the financial planning side as well.
Yeah, awesome. So you're mentioning mentors, and we talked a little bit about this at our last episode as well, about coaches and stuff. But I know when we originally spoke about planning for today, you talked about the mentorships that you've had. And so who are one or two that have really been influential, and how have they led you in your own journey?
So it's really, I'm going to recency answer that question. So basically, I was born and bred into a family consultancy. So my parents have been my mentors my entire life. My mom's a PhD in communication and a neuro-linguistic expert. My dad's a biochemist by degree, but overall Renaissance man. And so they had their consultancy for over 40 years. And so really every single conversation I get processed. So it's literally just the dissection of what it is that I'm working through, and then coaching on that side. So that mentorship's incredibly valuable. They're also just like really fun, cool people. So that's a little feather in my cap. As far as like mentors go, in the financial world, it's really interesting because you have what we call specialists and generalists. Okay. And so really when you have somebody who is a generalist, it's challenging because it's hard to figure out how to replicate because you're solving such broad issues or not able to actually create like the advanced strategies required for complexity. And so I find myself surrounded by, I've built my dream team, like we talked about before, where I have specialists who are literally like the best in their respective like fields. Everything from premium finance or advanced qualified plan design or, comprehensive financial planning where we're utilizing a Monte Carlo simulation to project out probability of success. And so I surround myself with these specialists, and each one of them are very, very strong. They're all men. They're wonderful. So they tolerate me and my directness all day long. So God bless them. But really, they're each unique and strong in their different disciplines, and their styles are very, very different. And so I find that I go to them for different things, and it's really honed my skill set. So that's really fun.
Yeah.
As far as mentorship goes.
Yeah.
I literally had my coach ask me, please define what you want in a mentor. And literally like 2 weeks ago asked me to do that because I'm searching for something and I'm not sure what it is yet. And so we're on that journey.
Yeah. That kind of back to our other episode too, just about, planning for success. Well, what does that really mean for you? Right. And so I love that, like, okay, what are you really looking for? So it sounds like that right now, some of those mentors are people you're working with, but let me just ask a real tactical question. Like, how do you start a mentor relationship? How do you say or ask or choose, hey, this person, I'd like for them to really journey with me?
I'm very direct and aggressive. I'm just to put it bluntly, I identified somebody who's successful for various reasons. I do a little bit of research to figure out, what it is that they've built and why. And then I literally call, email, figure out who their gatekeeper is. I connect with them on social media. I have a unique presence. So I find that I can relate to a lot of different types of people in various ways. So I always find it really interesting. So I'm very blunt. But as far as targeting the individual, that's an interesting question.
Well, and I asked that question. I'll give you some to think about it a little bit too. But I asked that question because I know that I've been asked some of those kind of just for me, really, and maybe it's so natural for you that's why that you're also struggling. Because I tend to do my best ministry at a coffee shop, just over a small table, having a real and honest conversation with somebody. And I've had multiple people in my ministry career and colleagues ask, "How do you do that?" And I remember being like, "How do I invite someone to coffee?" Yeah. Like, you just randomly pick somebody? Do you email them? And I was like, "Oh, you're like really being okay." And I was like, "No, I call them or text them and say, 'Hey, I'd like to get coffee. Are you free on Tuesday at 2?'" And they're like, "Okay, so you set the date." And I'm like, I remember being kind of like, why are we so nitpicking about this? But I think for people who this is not natural, right? To reach out, to invite someone in, even to sit across the table from them, that it's so maybe scary that they don't realize that they're asking what could kind of seem like maybe silly questions, but they're just so scared. They're just so nervous. It's so new. But that's kind of what I know I've experienced. It's like, well, I just asked. And the same with mentorship, same thing with that, like I have a couple of mentors. They're not like, they don't have a certificate that says they're my mentors, but these are women that I call upon when I'm really dealing with something I don't know how to deal with. Right. Or even have to force myself to be like, you know what, we should probably just get lunch and check in when things are good. Just maybe she's got something new going on that I would be inspired by, I'd be encouraged by, or sometimes reminding myself too, this woman might need to be encouraged. Maybe she needs someone to take her to lunch and not ask for anything, And so, but these are women who, again, I've admired, I've seen their fruit, in our interactions. I have felt seen, valued, and gained something from that. And so been willing to say, okay, I'm going to put more into this.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. It's crazy because it's so relevant, like such a relevant topic for literally what I'm like sorting through right now. So to your point, for me, it's second nature because that's my comfort zone. I'm working, so I have like large group social anxiety. I'm like a very hardcore extrovert, but I like, unless I have a strategic objective for going into a group scenario, I sort of shut down and like go into observation mode. So for me, like the targeted one-on-one like engagement for me to essentially go to school on somebody and get to know them and understand what it is that I would like from the relationship or what it is that they bring to the table. And usually those are just phenomenal conversations, and it's my genuine curiosity for like wanting to have that time. Yeah. And if somebody does make time for you in that capacity, like that is an incredible leader who has freedom to be able to give you that time.
Yeah.
And so if they have that, then obviously they're doing something right, and I want to figure out what it is so that I can replicate it. So for me, like it's the physical action items to get that type of interaction, or that like go to coffee, go to lunch, whatever. Do whatever you need to do. Show up at their office and bring them coffee.
I love it.
Hi, my name is Tinja. I would really like to learn from you. What is it that makes you successful?
I love it.
Can you help me understand what it is that I need to do different?
Yeah. I love that tenacity, right? And just that reminder that if you want something, odds are we're the greatest barrier of our own success, of our own dreams coming true. I mean, I've shared before that like that's the reason why this is happening is that I, for a year, was like, I'd love to have a podcast. I listened to all these guys tell me all this stuff about what they're doing. And where is the woman's voice? Where is the female perspective? Where is someone who talks like me, who is living my reality? And I just thought, you know, in this day and age, why not? The only thing that's stopping me is me. All the no's that I have created, right? And I think we do that as well when it comes to seeking others to learn from, to walk alongside us, to encourage and empower us. We're our own biggest no. We've already decided that they're too busy, too important, not interested enough, right? And yet we haven't given them the chance, which in all honesty, probably people are flattered.
Oh, absolutely.
What? You'd like to buy me a cup of coffee and hear what I have to say? Yeah. What? Sure. I know for me, like anytime a future pastor or even just someone in seminary is like, hey, will you tell me? I had a friend call me this week and say, hey, I want to pick your brain. You're always so smart. I was like, I love you. You're my favorite, you know? So just being able to like be willing to go after that.
Yeah.
Right?
So I find a lot of time where people struggle for that engagement is that they don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
Like, what do I ask them?
Right.
Like, what am I supposed to get at? I know I'm supposed to have a mentor. I know I'm supposed to like learn something, but what is it that I'd like to get out of that?
Yeah.
Or what is it that I can ask that would provoke? So like the difference between like an open-ended question versus a closed question, it's like I want them to expand on what it is that they're bringing up rather than just like a one-word answer.
Yeah.
Right. So it's getting really insightful in the types of questions that you ask and like being genuinely curious about that individual and what's led them to that. Yes. But then also challenging your own perspectives. And so like getting really part of what I say as a financial planner is like I specialize in difficult conversations because like you don't want to think about half of the stuff that I'm going to bring up because it is going to happen. You're going to have to like deal with those situations at some point. And what would you like the best scenario to look like?
Yeah.
So but also like we have to have that tough conversation about like what's driving you? What are you concerned about? Like, what is it that keeps you up at night?
Yes. As you say all that, I'm like, pastors should be doing the same, right? I remember I had to deal with something difficult and my, volunteer committee around was all like, I just don't like these hard conversations. And I was like, well, yeah, only psychopaths do. But we still have
I think you just called me a psychopath.
I'm not saying that we like it, but that we're willing to do it. That was my point. I was like, we all have to do it. Like it's not that we all love confrontation and I think maybe the word was conflict or confrontation. Like we don't love conflict and confrontation, but we're willing to deal.
Yeah.
We're willing to deal with these things, right? And being willing to, and like you said, kind of same thing, being willing to plan
you just brought
for the things that you don't want to talk.
Is like so boundaries, comfort zone, difficult conversations. It's like most of the time when people like avoid difficult conversations because they don't want to make somebody mad or upset somebody, it festers and you're like not addressing the situation and it just becomes this big elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. And then you're not living your life and then you're sublimating yourself. And then it's like your quality of life deteriorates because you simply did not address what you were feeling and what the concern was. And like, that's not a very like great feeling to just survive that way. So it's like, if this is somebody that you're like doing business with, or like have to see every day, and it's a coworker, it's somebody that you report to, it's like, I have this thing. I'd like to understand, why this is a situation, or like why you're approaching it this way, so that I can align or choose to go a different path.
Yeah. So. Where have you seen mentors and those empowering relationships kind of help with some of that?
That's a great question. With navigating like difficult conversations. Yeah. So I think one of the best things that a leader can do, that I've experienced, is really hone their mediator skill set. So being able to actually recap what they've heard in order to get that alignment and get that engagement and that trust that they have been heard, that individual has been heard, but also to give that individual time to check back, to push back, to clarify, is what they had said actually what they intended to say? And does the other person or team, like, did they actually hear what the intended message was? And so as a leader, like, I think the being a phenomenal mediator is a phenomenal skill set. I think having a vested interest in somebody's success and helping them through, like, identifying their roadblocks and how to solve those roadblocks without telling them how to fix it is a phenomenal skill set.
Yeah. As you say that, I just want to be like, pastors, listen up. Same thing, right? One of our greatest skills is not solving other people's problems, but being able to listen, say back what we heard, and then I think too, asking good questions, right? That actually lead people to their own solution. And I read a book about that where it actually shows that in scriptures that Jesus answers more questions with a question than he ever answers directly, right? Because it's all about this, let's find the truth in you. What are you really after? What even when he's being mocked and berated, but like, it's like, what are you really asking here? What are you really trying to get at? You're trying to trick me, you're trying to catch me, whatever. But I think the same thing in that idea of a mentor or even a coach. It's not someone who gives you the answers, right? It's someone who helps you find that in you. And again, you said too, like being vested in someone else. And this is where we get some of the greatest joy and happy to see someone else succeed, especially when we got to be up close, when we got to see them struggle. We knew how hard that was going to be. And so I'm speaking like from the point of a mentor to someone, but then like that gift you give someone else to invite them on your journey, to say, walk with me, help me, teach me, just hold my hand and remind me, yep, some days it's really, really tough. And there will be good days. There will be joy. Like it will come of what comes, being that willingness to be vulnerable in that relationship on both sides. Yeah. The one seeking the mentorship and the one offering that. There's that vulnerability that gets to be shared. And I think so much beauty and again, true encouragement, because it's real. Mm-hmm. It's not a book. It's not someone else's statistics. It's real up close. Yeah.
I also as a caveat, I think one of the most important things as a leader is for you to walk the walk and talk the talk. So not just creating those environments for somebody to elevate, but also like doing the work yourself, like being able to back up what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and then following through with the actual results. And not just say we're going to do these things. Like, I'd like to actually see the construct of how we've implemented these changes or these best practices, or like what it is that you're coaching me to. Mm-hmm. Is this something that you've implemented for yourself as well? And so for me, it's, if you don't, it creates mutiny on the bounty, and you are just setting yourself up for incredible strife and failure, because it's very challenging to silo out how you engage your people.
Sure. I just thought, it's like a boss who's never in on time, complaining that others aren't in on time. Like, nah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
We're not following that. That's not going to fly. Like you said, if you're wanting excellence, you you've got to be providing that.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be offering what it is that you're hoping for, or transparency or honesty, whatever it is that might be. What would be some hope you have for leaders that are seeking maybe this empowering relationship, who are recognizing it's something that they need? What would be your hope for them?
I love this conversation. Like, this is just like so important and so translatable across the board for so many different, I mean, just for human like kind in general. Yeah. My hope for like an individual to seek that. Can you clarify that question for me?
Yeah. Just what would be your hope for leaders who are seeking either a circle of empowerment, a mentor, knowing that they're needing something?
Yeah.
What would be your hope for them?
I always come back to this because I'm so formulaic. Yeah. You can't do anything without a roadmap. Like, you can't do anything unless you've done a root cause analysis and a gap analysis. Like, if you're feeling a feeling of lack, or, you know, missing something, or feeling lost without like a beacon to strive for, you know, maybe you've had a significant change in your life and now you're trying to find your purpose. Whatever your situation is, it's create a roadmap. I sound like a broken record. What is your strategic plan? Yeah. If you cannot define what your vision, mission, and core values are, we're just wandering. So if you're a leader and you're obviously very skilled, if you're in a leadership position, you got there for a reason. But if you're feeling like you're just wandering because maybe your leadership is wandering, then it's, how do you lead from the bottom? And what does that look like? How do you set the expectation from the bottom up? And ultimately, it's you have to actually create an execution plan, and you have to back it up with the numbers. So I know that's clinical, but for me, my brain is just literally like, if I'm going to try to make change, and I don't know what I'm changing, and I don't know what I want out of engagement with people, then I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting their time, and we're just really not, like, your ability to progress just is very limited. Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't know what it is, start trying things on. Yeah. Like, literally, again, my 3 things every single week. Try something on. Is this the trajectory you want to go? Why? Like, pro, con it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a theme.
Rate and rank it.
You definitely mentioned multiple times is, you know, define success, define what you're after, and even take the time to say, what is it that's missing? What is it that I'm hoping for? What is it I'm longing for? What is it that I'm needing? And even I always push too, this comes from seminary, is just, you know, and define that word too. And what does that word really mean? You know, in a conversation this week with a friend, well, our goal is to build community. I was like, so what does community mean? Do a word search. Do your seminary work of what does community mean? What does the Bible say about it, right? Whatever. Just kind of getting really, really clear, because we all use the same language and we mean something completely different. You know, I find myself in a lot of meetings. And what does that word mean to you? Not to be a jerk, not to push back, just to be like, let's clarify that we're all on the same page here. I can say transformation, but you could say it, but we might mean something totally different. So let's get really honest about what that word means. Yeah. I'm wondering too, as we talk about being leaders and having this sense of, you know, not, I have my mentors and I have people that are encouraging me. And if you have if someone has a sense of like giving back, right? Like, how do you become a mentor? What would be your advice there?
You can join Nerdy Girl Success as on the advisory board.
Say more. What's this?
If you're
I love it.
A woman in business in any capacity and you'd like to be a mentor, there are different types of organizations. I sit on the board for Nerdy Girl Success. It's a national organization. They've helped over 700 high school students that are looking to go into different types of career paths. So all career paths are welcome. We'd love to have you. I mean, wherever you are. But literally, it gives you opportunities to facilitate on a panel discussion or have a job shadow or, I mean, even getting into the community with, you know, every organization. It's, if you want a mentor, create a curriculum.
Love it. I love it.
Like, again, what do you want? What do you want to teach?
Yeah. And I would offer too, as I know when I was in seminary and I started finishing up, I was just, saw this slew of young women who were just starting their, their educational career in seminary and potentially going into ministry. And I just thought, I'm going to just befriend them.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be kind. I'm just going to be open. I'm going to reach out every now and then and say, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? How are classes? How's the juggle? How's it going? And it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to be their mentor, but I thought I'm going to offer encouragement. I'm going to offer empowerment. I'm going to remind them they can do it. Let them be in relation with someone who is doing it, And interestingly, actually, that I did the same with a girl I had interviewed for a job. I actually passed on her at the time. A couple weeks later, someone else was like, hey, I'm looking for, and I was like, this she wasn't a fit for us, but I think she'll be great for you. She ended up getting that job. We stayed connected. We had coffee regularly. Circle of events. We work together now. And it's so beautiful that we've had, not by either of us, of our choices, but that's where we are. And just this I intentionally said, I'm going to continue to care for this woman. I felt a connection. I felt that she's got something in her that God is up to. And I want to, again, just encourage it, just empower it. Let her know someone's rooting for you. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's as simple as that. Yeah. Just kind of back to how do you set up a coffee date? You just set it up and you invite somebody, and you don't get your heart broke if they're not available Tuesday at 2, but the same kind of thing on the other end of like, just be kind, be encouraging, be empowering to those around you, especially if you see people who are, we tend to be drawn to people who are like us, right? And then often in that situation, those people probably need the same things we needed. Yeah. And being able to just be willing to pour in. So if someone's looking, they realize I need a mentor. I need someone, my boss isn't the one, or my coworkers just don't get it, or I need someone who's totally not here. What would be that one next step that they should take?
I love it. It's just so relevant in my life right now. Like that entire tee up. Yeah. So for me, what I did was I looked at, so my company puts out nationally, like the rankings of different advisors and like the different organizations and the different specialties. And so I went in and just, basically identified, I knew some of the names from just having listened to going to like our academy and hearing other advisors speak, or heard their names. And so then I just literally identified who the top advisors are, went and introduced myself, emailed, called, asked for some time, give them a little bit of background of what I'd like to get out of that conversation, and just, went to school, literally saying like, I would love to like understand what it is that you're doing that's created success for you, and how I could potentially replicate it. Or, I'm dealing with a difficult situation. I'd like to get your perspective on how I could best handle it. Or, I'd really like to get here. How do I get there? It's identify the people that you want to engage with, no matter who they are, at what rank. Like so again, I was raised in a consultancy, and I've never felt like I didn't deserve to be in the room. Like I always went above and beyond, make sure that I understood the value of who was in that room, but that I was respectful of that engagement. So it's just making sure that I'm getting what I need out of that interaction. I guess most people don't know what they want out of the interaction, is where really people get squirrely and awry. So, sometimes I find that it's like on the health side, people don't know where to go because there's just so many gurus, or like on the financial side, there's so many gurus, there's so many different titles, or on the, the faith side, where do they go? So it's just, I'd encourage people to just expand their horizons and try things on and identify, like put a list together of what you want to learn or what you want to experience. Yeah.
Define success.
Yeah, literally. I know I sound like a broken record.
No, I think it's a great thing to repeat, right? We got to tell people things 7 times before they hear it.
I heard that in an infomercial. You had to say the phone number 7 times.
how can people connect with you if they'd like to learn more about your financial planning services or just, your story? Where can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah. I post a lot on Instagram. So Tinja Anderson on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn at Tinja Anderson. I'm on Facebook. You can just email me tinja@financialguide.com.
Awesome. And we'll have all of those links in the show notes. Thank you again for tuning in to this episode. I would love to hear from you. Tell me about your mentors, how you got them, and also places that you're mentoring and empowering as well. Send those to sheleadscomments@gmail.com. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
She Leads is produced by me, Thea Curry-Fuson, recorded and edited by Pearland Podcast Studios. All thoughts and expressions shared by the guests are theirs and not the organizations they're affiliated with. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out next week to continue the conversation on She Leads.